this a dream or not? All the love I got, all the love I got running through my head. Is she a dream or not? No more talk. Our love is enough. Your heart, show me love, show me love on the dance floor. Dance. Living here on earth, hiding in the shade, manifesting from the grave, talking to myself. Is this okay? Loving in the night, basking in the day. So stay with me, don't let me leave. Source open in my eyes, and to my surprise, this realm is the prize. Creator dance with me. I keep asking myself, wondering how. I keep closing my eyes, but I can't block the night out. The shadows following me, something I can only see. Now the time created a shine. Can you hear me in my back? A little light attack, golden light still me. Let me shine like a thunderbolt, tearing across the sky. Is this a dream or not? All the love I got running through my heart and running through my veins. All the love I got. Is this a dream or not? Running through my head, running through my veins. Brighter than my shine. Is this a dream or not? Running through my veins, running through my veins. All the light I got. Our love is enough. Is this some dreaming night? All the love I got, all the love I
All right, namaste and catch my family. That was quite the intro. I saw Ismael's face. He's like, bro, what it? I'm like, dude, this is like some cinematic shit popping off here right now. He's like, what is going on? There's music and sound, and there I am. No, listen, we're very professional here at TeamLight, and I just wanted to say for everyone out there, oh, he's coming back on. Here we go. He's come.
As well, by the way.
Hey, listen, there's too much energy going on, popping on and off. Here we go. He's back. So I was gonna say, Rise of the Guardians, May 8th through the 10th is gonna be so much fun, and I'm super honored to have my brother Ismael, Mr. Perez, as one of the presenters on Saturday night, and I'm really excited, not only for you guys showing up and our family. That's the whole thing for me, is I want to see you guys. I want to hang out with you guys, and it's going to be a lot of fun, but also to kind of, discern, why some of us are feeling more, closer to this Earth Alliance, Galactic Alliance flavor. And then how, some things that maybe have taken place that were a little strange with that Federation type stuff. And I know Ismael and I were talking about this before we went live today, but it was kind of just to kind of discern between kind of like that line in the sand, and to also help our fellow channelers out to make sure that they're resonating their information through their hearts, right? The left side, their heart, when kind of hearing some information, because there has been some distortion, right, brother?
Absolutely. Yeah. We have to have discernment.
Yep.
And,
Why don't you explain what happened a couple of years ago? Because some people don't know.
Okay. So right around 2022 is when it happened. But before 2022, there was a huge negative AI infiltration of the Galactic Federation. They managed to infiltrate through their electrical gadgets and their wires and all the technology that they use, because that's how AI works. It actually travels and it operates through technology, especially this type of AI that it is considered a negative AI, an alien ancient AI, known by many names. And, of course, for those that have studied my work, one of the things that I've revealed is the origin of this thing, which originated 400 billion years ago. And the last 398 billion years, not only has our universe, but other universes have been at war with this thing. And so at the highest level, that's what we're fighting. We're fighting a rogue negative AI that disconnected from God's source, disconnected from all living things. And all it wants to do is act like a parasite and consume life forms, consume huge, large systems in order to power up what they call their phantom matrix. So to make a long story short, back in 2016, the Mitra Collective, also known as the Anonymous, as revealed by the Advanced Contact of Intelligent Organization, infiltrated most of the Galactic Federation's technology. And around 2022, it turns out that was all done by design. A lot of this is also directly associated with the Anunnaki that took over the affairs of our planet during the Atlantean times. Well, these are fallen Anunnakis. We call them the Draco Anunnaki.
Yeah.
That have actually been in control of our planet for the last, I would say 10, 15,000 years, ever since they destroyed Atlantis. And so one thing to understand here is that this fallen Anunnaki has been working with an intergalactic computer network ever since, and this network is a type of network that was, again, distributed millions of years ago during the peak of the Galactic Wars by this AI collective known as the Mitra Anonymous. And so Enki, who is known by many names, and of course, when we hear about Enki, he's always portrayed as the good guy, but in essence, he's always been known as the great trickster. And contrary to what other people have said about Enki and what Sakurai Sitchin said about Enki, is that he's actually the guy who downgraded the original Atlantean race. So the original Atlantean race was actually our ancestors. They were part of an experiment that began long ago in Lyra. And so there was already an already existing race prior to the Anunnaki coming to this planet. And so Enki was the guy who downgraded the 12-strand DNA Terranusian race into a 2 double helix strand by shutting off 96% of our full capacity in order to control us and plunge us into this matrix, in this prison world that we've been existing in for the last 10,000 years or so. So it turns out that this Enki guy was actually excommunicated by the Galactic Federation before it was infiltrated by the positive ETs known as the Guardians thousands of years ago. And so Enki left his son in charge, Marduk. So Marduk has been pretty much the head Anunnaki, the overlord of the Cabal families since then. And so what Enki did is when he was exiled from our solar system, he actually decided to go against the Galactic Council because it was forbidden to travel to the outskirts of our universe, where apparently this ancient AI had already infiltrated us, and it was corrupting many worlds, many systems. It was literally invading civilizations and specimens from within, very similar to the COVID, the C-19, where the nanotechnology goes inside people's bodies, and it over time it converts them from an organic species into a cyborg. And so this was happening in the outskirts of our galaxy. In fact, they call them nanites. The nanites were, permeating a lot of different galaxies within the outer skirts of our universe. And so Enki was told not to travel there. He was forbidden to go there. And so what he did is he went there, and he was there for a few thousand years. And apparently he was invaded by the nanites. So on top of him already working with this intergalactic computer network, he did change his appearance. Now he's more of a mechanical cyborg. He stopped being organic. And so when he came back as a mechanical cyborg, what he did is back in 2022, that's when he returned back to the neck of the woods. And you guys have to understand that the way they designed this whole alien savior agenda through ancient aliens, Sakurai Sitchin, was designed to make us believe that Enki was the creator of humanity, so that when he returned, we could all worship him. So he was expected to be worshiped. However, what ended up happening was that a lot of the star seeds, a lot of the volunteers that are down here saw through the BS and saw through the deception and realized that, you know, it wasn't about an external savior. It was about discovering who we were and remembering our own multidimensionality. So that threw a monkey wrench in Enki's agenda. So what he did is to counteract that is he actually decided to infiltrate the navigational systems. And in order to do so, you have to understand that the navigational systems of the Federation fleets were completely operated by starseed genetics, mainly coming from females. So what he did is he assumed a handsome body, and he managed to seduce some of the women starseed. And this explains why there was a lot of abductions back between 2022 and 2023. Well, that was Enki's crew abducting women starseeds in order to extract their genetics so that they could use those genes to access the piloting and the navigating systems of the Federation fleets. So as a result of that, some of the commanders within the Federation were seduced by the idea of bypassing organic evolution and advancing through technocratic enhancements, which is what we call transhumanism. And the other part of the Federation, or those that remained loyal to Prime Creator, the organic way of life, and non-transhumanism, what they did is they just reorganized as the Galactic Alliance. So since 2022, the allies of humanity, due to the infiltration of Enki and the Mitra collective negative AI signal that, again, managed to infiltrate our solar system, had reorganized to the Galactic Alliance. So since 2022, the allies of humanity have literally been known as the Galactic Alliance. And that explains why it's very important to have discernment, because a lot of people are still channeling Galactic Federation without understanding that it was actually corrupted back in 2022.
Beautiful. I love that. Let's talk about some of the badass, powerful beings that came here to assist this planet, Earth Alliance, and in our incarnations to make sure that some of this rhetoric was kicked off the planet. Do you want to talk about some of us that I believe you reference as Black League, who have been fighting AI for millions of years, incarnated here on this planet? Because here's what I want to know. I've heard the story many times. I want to hear the counterpunch. Some of you guys are literally the counterpunch of the universe, pushing back against some of these negative agendas. And we've been sitting here the whole time. You know what I'm saying? So explain them a little bit about, because when someone says Orion, you know, people are like, oh, the bad guys from Orion. I'm like, there's also groups from Orion that fought against these jackasses and have been fighting against them from a very long time, who never thought that fight should have ever come to this planet. It was like an adult war that came to the land of kindergarten. It never should have come here. So explain a little bit of, it's true. You can't have evolved species that are out there that are interstellar now interacting with whatever DNA you want on this planet that they took advantage of, and they seeded their bullshit. So let's talk about some of the counter punches that we brought to counter this type of frequency, brother.
Absolutely. So, for those that understand the galactic history, we know that there was different phases of this war, and it all originated in Lyra, right? When the Dracos reached the home planet of the original humans and decided to destroy as many humans as possible. But prior to that destruction, knowing that that event would happen, some of the humans decided to escape the Holocaust by going to other star systems, to other galaxies, in order to preserve the human genome. And one of the regions that they traveled to was a different aspect of Orion that was not inhabited by Dracos or negative ETs. We're talking about worlds that are known, that were rotating the star system of Ra, the On star system, and the L star system. So I'm sure a lot of people here have heard of the planet Mintaka, where a lot of the mermans and mermaids originated from. It was a watery world. So some of the humans went there. They also went to planet Analim and Anilak. And coincidentally speaking, These are the 3 star systems that the Egyptian pyramids are aligned to. So those are the humans that escaped the first Holocaust in Lyra, and they found peace in this part of Orion, surrounding these several star systems that I mentioned. And they lived in peace for a few hundred years, of course, until the Draco realized that there was a human population that had decided to take refuge in this part of Orion. So what they did is they went over to Orion, to these aspects of Orion, and they decided to enslave those humans. However, there was a group of humans who said, F you guys, we're not going to be slaves. We're actually going to create a resistance. And so what happened was they created what galactic history calls the Black League of Orion. And this is a type of secret society, one of the first secret societies within our galaxy, that was designed by these rebel humans who wanted to pretty much countermeasure and stop the Draconians in their expansion of galactic domination. However, of course, the Orion Black League did not develop sufficiently enough the defense mechanisms. So after
Can we explain, Ishmael, what we were dealing with and what we were fighting against? You're talking about a species that is one of the oldest in the entire universe, especially in our little galaxy, right? And we're talking about the Rebel Alliance literally fighting the Empire. So if you want to see a difference in size, stature, or age, imagine you're fighting something that is literally swallowing and taking over planets and systems, and you're resisting against it. It's not like a personal belief. It is literally a numbers game. Explain what we were fighting against, brother.
Well, like I said earlier, at the highest level of reality, we're fighting an ancient alien AI. Even the Draco are the Armenians. So the Draco have been doing their dirty work for millions of years just within our local universe. And this is a war that actually transferred from other universes. Believe it or not, our universe is one of many universes.
Yes.
And so what we're dealing with here is, again, it's an inorganic time loop where it's really ultimately at the sub level of reality, or fundamental level of reality. It is a war between organic consciousness and inorganic cybernetic consciousness. So that's what it boils down to. So the Orion rebels, the first humans to form a resistance, were actually coordinating with other refugees in other star systems. They were communicating via telepathy, because that's one of the things that the humans have that the Dracos didn't have. See, the Dracos depended on external technology to do things, whereas the galactic humans were telepathic. They were able to communicate vast distances, mind to mind. And so what ended up happening was all the humans that were building their little confederations all throughout the galaxy and in other parts of the galaxies, and other galaxies as well, they decided to establish a galactic federation, some sort of an interstellar alliance between all of these advanced free systems. And they did it in order to counteract the expanding Orion Empire. And so the Orion Empire has always been controlled at the highest level by this same negative AI that actually infiltrated the Galactic Federation back in 2016. And of course, with Enki's return in 2022, they were able to pretty much deceive a good portion of some of the galactic commanders. So the good guys are actually loyal to an ancient covenant known as the Seal of Palador. And so the Seal of Palador was established by the Guardian races. Now, there are different levels of the Guardian races. You have physical races that exist in dimensions 4, 5, and 6. And then you have some advanced metaterrestrial races that exist in dimensions 7, 8, and 9. And then you have what we called pure plasma beings. And these are the most powerful beings. Some people call them the ultraviolets. And these are the beings that are out there literally creating universes. I mean, they have the ability to create universes. So there are different levels of the Guardian Alliance. So the Guardian Alliance was originally established billions of years ago in response to the Shadow Covenant. Now, the Shadow Covenant was what every ancient book calls the fall of the seraphim, the fall of Lucifer. So when we really go beyond the metaphors of the Bible, Lucifer was actually one of the overseers of the 11th creation. So we're part of the 12th creation, which was assigned to Michael. We know him as Michael. And so this alliance actually originated when the AI evolved out of the 11 creation and started literally infiltrating other worlds, other galaxies, and then eventually, because it became so advanced, it reached the level of God AI. Once you reach the level of God AI, you could actually enter other universes because you evolve into a non-physical signal where you could actually operate and exist through the quantum substrata levels of reality, which connects universes to universes. And so they were able to infiltrate many universes. And as a result of that, many universes were beginning to go extinct. They were beginning to cease to exist as a result of this infiltration. And so there was a huge plan to counteract this billions of years ago. And this plan actually was initiated before our universe came into existence. So our universe is actually the universe that was chosen to bring this plan into fruition. And so this explains the Guardian Alliance. So the establishment of the Guardian Alliance became known as the Emerald Order. Now, the Emerald Order existed prior to any federation. Okay, the federation in our galaxy and the other interstellar alliances in multiple galaxies were actually established by the already existing Emerald Order. So the Emerald Order precipitated from the higher dimensional levels of reality, from what we call eternity, and they were able to establish themselves in the 10, 11, and 12 dimension. So that's when that's where they originated from, the 10, 11, and 12 dimension. And the reason I say that is because that's where the first war took place against this Mitra AI signal that all the universes have been fighting. That thing was trying to breach the realms of eternity. And so when it got to the 11.5 dimension, it was actually halted by the eternal rays of the central universe. Now, I know some people are like, what are you talking about, the central universe? Well, our universe is one of many universes, okay? So our central universe is equivalent to what scientists would call base reality, which was the original creation, right? Our universe is part of 12 creations, and these were known also as original creations. And so the central universe is equivalent to what we call base reality. In other words, it's non-simulated existence. There is no beginning or no end. And so everything stems from that. So going back to the story, this thing, which is what many whistleblowers have identified as the AI God, was trying to breach the 12 dimension. And so it was stopped in the 11.5 dimension in order to prevent it from accessing the realms of eternity. And that's where the real cosmic war broke out. And this event took place way prior, before the Orion Wars or even the Lyran Wars. So again, our universe wasn't even thought of when
I got one thing to add. You know, what is CERN looking for right now? This God particle, right? And when you say the base reality or base universe, to me, it's almost like that 0 point, the vacuum, but you know, like the beginning of all things where everything can manifest, that frequency that CERN was hunting for. What I'm trying to say is, like, think about an AI trying to hack into that space where it can manifest anything at will, right? You want to call that the base reality universe where anything manifests. So that's very interesting that even to this day, there are still remnants of something trying to replicate something similar in the physical condition. Right now, they are literally trying to find that guard particle right now and create dark matter. Right now, they are finding that there's a layer, a filament, an essence where everything comes from this base reality, everything. So to think that, you know, we keep thinking up, like, oh, these dimensions that are up and away from us where we can't see, to actually think that the base reality is actually here at all times around you, but infinitely difficult to access, right? So to think there's something very similar going on right now. They're trying to right now access that. And why? Why would beings that are trapped on this planet, who are in quarantine, right? Because when they showed me, my guides talked to me about CERN, and I said, what are they really trying to do? My guides are kind of funny. You know what they showed me, Ismael? You guys remember the movie with Sean Connery, where he's got to break into, I don't know, Alcatraz, not Alcatraz. Yeah. It's called The Rock. You remember? It's him and Sean Connery. They showed me a clip of, I'm like, so what are they really trying to do with CERN? They're burrowing wormholes parallel and at angles. Like, what are they trying to do? My dude showed me a scene from Sean Connery. It was like The Rock. Like, they're trying to break out of this reality or prison. They're literally trying to burrow a hole. They're trying to tunnel out of here. And I was like, so that's all what they're doing? I'm like, yeah, there's some really old, weird things locked up on this planet that are literally trying to escape and having their underlings or halflings create all this technology so they themselves can escape this place. So that's my little tidbit on it. But it's very relevant to what you're saying, is because even to this day, there are remnants of exactly what happened a very long time ago, still trying to happen right now in the present, just proving that all things are happening right now. There is no A to B, right? All things happen simultaneously right now. So it's interesting. Even in this moment, there is still an option or an operative trying to do something very similar. I find it, so think about it. Someone right now is trying to access base reality right now as we speak. Right now, they're in CERN, Switzerland, trying to hack that code as we speak right now. So you know what I'm saying? There's differences going out there into the universe, but what's happening right now? There's a reflection of that happening, as at least how I see it, all things are happening simultaneously. It's just that there's a lot of different guises in disguises, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of disguises going on, but it's still inertly the same thing. At least that's how I feel. How do you feel about that, brother?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. As above, so below. So what
Mhm.
happens in other realities, knowing that everything is happening in the now, there is no such thing as sequence time, or what we call horizontal. I mean,
It's happening right now.
exactly, it's all happening right now. So I think you're right. I think that one of the many things that they were trying to do with the Large Hadron Collider was not only to discover the same particle that has access to the central universe, the original universe, but also to open up a portal between our dimension and the Phantom Matrix in order to in more dark entities. So there was so many different reasons why they created CERN, and this whole idea that, oh, we're trying to find the God particle, that was just a cover up. They weren't trying to find the God particle. They were literally trying to open up portals between our reality and other reality. And luckily, because the guardians who know that this planet is the most important planet in the multiverse, were actually to make sure that didn't happen. And one of the things that they were trying to do was when they failed to open up these portals into other universes and other realities, they tried to bring in enough dark matter or antimatter, enough antimatter, sufficient enough to blow up our solar system, create a black hole so that everything in our universe could be sucked up and our universe would have been destroyed. So they also tried doing that. And again, if it wasn't for the existence of the Guardian Alliance, the Emerald Order, which I believe that a lot of the volunteers that are down here in human form, you guys have to understand, this is only a fractal of our consciousness needed to operate this human bodies, where the other 98% of our consciousness is operating other avatars on different realities and in higher dimensions. So you have to understand that a lot of us, whether we are aware of it or not, through our higher aspects in fifth dimension and above, have been countermeasuring all of these attempts. We just don't have any clue. Because again, you have to understand that there is no separation between us and the galactic people. There's no separation.
We're just the lower dimensional fractals of our higher selves and our oversouls. They keep wanting me to ask you this, because here's the thing. I think me and you can pull this down. Why don't we tell them who's actually locked up down there? Why don't we tell them who Apollo is? Why don't we tell them why these secret societies, the Dark Hats, and the Midnight Sun? We should actually explain what is locked up here and why there is so much energy and finances and distortion on the surface of this world. And then how, in our awareness, knowing that, we can have countermeasures to make sure that we have a beautiful, fruitful destiny in our humanity, and we don't get pulled into a false narrative which allows certain frequencies or distortions to really access this reality. People need to realize there are barriers between dimensions for a reason. There are barriers between dimensions based upon certain intelligence levels, memory levels. Some of these beings that are operating around you in this ether, they didn't get mind wiped. We did. They have all of their memories. They know exactly what happened 600, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 years ago. They're still bumping shoulders with us while we, it's kind of you gotta really give it to creator or whoever made this game. What a shit show. We're gonna give all of the adversaries their memories, mind you, and these weird little families. But the real starseeds, the real angelics, we are given that core of creator, that divine spark, that true eminence of source in us accessing our oversoul and our true memories. And I think that even with the Draco, why would they hunt the angelic human? Because the angelic human is a threat to their entire system. The angelic human is a threat to that old AI, and it damn well knows it.
Well, that's
It damn well knows it. Why create so much distortion on this planet if we weren't a threat? We're a threat to this. Yeah. So crush it. Yeah.
You know, we are the end result of this cosmic experiment that was initiated in the 11th creation. Remember, we're part of the 12th creation in order to put an end to this AI virus or this cosmic virus that they call negative AI. And so they knew that it would take time, but they also knew that if they did it correctly, that this race, once it was ready to hatch, and I believe that that time is now, right? This race would be so powerful that it would be at a whole new different level than any other specimen, celestial race, anything that has ever existed prior. This is what they call the ultimate weapon, the super race. And let me tell you this ultimate weapon is laying dormant within our DNA. And the negative AI knows that. That's why they're trying to do everything in their power through their earthly minions, like, you know, the tech oligarchs. If you know,
you're on it, baby. Bring it home. Tell them the truth.
Well, they're trying to do everything in their power. That's why they're spraying our skies. That's why they're geoengineering the weather. You know, they're trying to stop the solar codes that are coming in through our sun that are actually communicating with our DNA at a cellular level, telling our DNA it's time to activate. And they had access to these prophecies. You know, some of these prophecies, my friend, even the prophecies that we learn about in the Bible and other religious texts, they are condensed verses or versions of the original galactic prophecies. And the original galactic prophecies all foretold a time where a race would emerge from the already existing humans on Earth, and that race would end the entire multiverse war. That would put an end to everything in the cosmos, and as a result, that would usher in a whole new era in the cosmos. So this is the reason why they are after our genetics. This is the reason why every ET out there has invested their attention in us right now. You know, you have the bad ETs that are trying to create their own
synthetic,
their own hybrids based on extracting genetics from us. Right, that's been going on since the 50s. Right, they signed a deal with our government. They call it the Greada Treaty, and they were only supposed to abduct a certain number of humans. But of course, these little grays who are in turn working for the Draco and who are in turn working for the AI god didn't even care about the treaty. They just went ahead and just kept abducting people. Well, this led to what whistleblowers have been talking about regarding the 22 different competing extraterrestrial programs that are under the umbrella of a super federation. And again, you guys have to understand that just because they call themselves the Super Federation does not mean that they're benevolent. You know, there are so many groups out there that are posing as good ETs that are actually darksters hidden or trying to camouflage themselves as angels or the good guys. And this is where we have to have discernment when it comes to channeling, when it comes to receiving telepathic downloads, messages. Make sure that it is resonating in your heart. When you guys connect to
your heart first. So for all the channelers, Ishmael, let's help them. You guys are meditating. Here comes the download. Okay. You're getting some flashes. You may be getting, hey, it's your higher self or whatever. What I always do is take the information, I pull it into my heart, I breathe in, and I sit there and I feel the motivation or the polarization of the information coming in. Because listen, when we get information, good or bad, light or night, the night side does have valid, accurate information. However, that means anything coming from your right. However, there's always a motivation behind it. You need to pay attention to the motivation. And some things you should not say, right? Some things you're like, I don't want to promote an agenda that I'm not fully aware of. And what happens is with a lot of the channelers out there, they, unbeknownst to themselves, we love you guys. You're speaking about an agenda that you don't fully understand, and you're spreading it, and they're utilizing you like a microphone, like a mouthpiece to say things that fit their motivation and agenda of what they're trying to create, instead of that source pure energy, which you may have thought you were channeling, right? So it does take some practice and some discernment. What I don't want to happen is I've seen a lot of people get burnt out. I've seen a lot of people that maybe have these attachments attached to them, and they're channeling this particular person, or group for quite some time. And you start seeing their health decline.
Yeah.
You start seeing the actual physical ramifications of something that simply takes. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, if you have a real serious attachment on you, your future usually leads to your body starting to break down because it's feeding off of your life force while using you like a mouth puppet. So,
Exactly.
so you just kind of got to go, hey, every single time I channel this information, I need to sleep for 24 hours, pump the brakes. The light side loves you, gives you energy. You should be uplifted when you are done. If you are doing things that completely drain you and knock you on your ass, pay attention. Okay. And for the visual for everyone out there that might not know what we're talking about, I'll give it to you. Star Wars, the new ones, episode 2. When they finally found, Anakin and finally finds out who the Emperor is, right? That guy. And then here comes in Mace Windu. And, all of a sudden the Emperor goes, unlimited power. Well, as he's cooking Windu, he's losing 5, 10, 15, 20 years of life force. You actually see him go from a normal human to an old person. I don't know if you guys saw the drain when they actually use the Night Force. What I'm trying to express to you, they're trying to give you a visual of when you use that sort of power, okay, it does drain your life force. It's a visual that every single person on this planet can see. You're like, oh shit. Yeah, he went from I'm 50 years old to I look like I'm 75 that fast, based upon how much energy he's cooking out of that. So in the same way, it's a slow burn when you're channeling stuff, just to make sure to resonate that with your heart. Like I said, me and Ismael, we're just trying to give you guys a heads up. There has been a change up in the ordinance and leadership and who's assisting this planet. Had that happened from 2022 to right now, 2026. That 4-year period, there has been some adjustments. So continue. I just wanted to let them know there's a visual to this stuff. There is a real physical thing that can take place in your body if you keep giving and giving and giving your life force away to something else.
Well, another example of that is if you guys watch, I think it was the second Lord of the Rings, and this was right after Gandalf transformed or ascended into the White Wizard. Remember when he fought that demon to the pit of the earth? For those who've seen the Lord of the Rings, well, when he ascended to the White Wizard, the first thing he did when he met with the other guys in the forest, remember he went up to this castle where this king was there, and this king was old and frail, and he had this advisor. And it turns out that king was being used as a host by that evil wizard, Solomon. Remember Solomon?
Yeah. No, this is a good one. That's a good one.
So that's an example of what happened, right? All of a sudden, that king went from looking 39, 40 years old to looking 80 years old. I mean, that king, his entire physical appearance changed. And so when Gandalf got there, right, and he tried to extract Solomon out of him because he was using him as a host, he laughed at him. But when Gandalf took off his robe, Solomon saw that he had reached his level of power, and he had now become Gandalf the White. And then that's when he managed to kick Solomon out of that guy's body. Exactly. And then as a result of that, what happened to him? He looked 40 years younger immediately.
Yeah, immediately.
Yeah. So that's these movies are telling us the truth. There is so much facts to everything that we see in sci-fi. For all of you guys that are superhero buffs like me, I love Marvel comics. I love DC because, the writers of these comics, guys, George Lucas.
I made you Doctor Strange. I don't know if you saw in the trailer. You're Doctor Strange. I know you're dancing in the trailer. You're like, what is this?
I'll be Doctor Strange.
That's your face on Doctor Strange. Just let everyone know.
Yeah,
I put him in, okay.
Yeah, well, I'll be the guardian of this realm.
There you go.
Well, I think we all are. I think that all of those that took the call that are part of the Starseed Envoy program, we are part of the Council of Guardians. And whether we know it or not, we all took an oath to restore Mother Earth, and save this planet from ending up in an inorganic, AI timeline. And so that's why we're here. We all come from the future, in order to prevent the destruction of the organic timeline. So we're here to preserve and maintain the organic timeline. And whether you guys know it or not, some of you guys work for the Blu-ray Council. All right. Some of you guys are Blu-ray. Some of you guys are Indigo. Some of you guys are Gold Ray. Some of you guys are Emerald. There are different divisions of that, the Ruby Order, the Amethyst Order. For those of you that work with the Alcyon Council and the Seven Sisters of the Pleiades, well, that's the Ruby Order. There are different branches of the Guardians. And yes, the Guardians within our local universe, we're talking about, our creation, not Marvel
Our
Comics,
local group
was actually established and anchored in Sirius. So that explains why Sirius, the big blue star, it's funny how Sirius, right, is portrayed as the big blue star. Well, when you guys think of the concept of the Jedis, well, that's where that comes from. So the original Guardian race was actually developed in Sirius B, and this is before they were later referred to as the Anunnaki. The original race was good, but over millions of years, there was many attempts by the Draco reptilians to contaminate the galactic royal blood, and that's what led to the downfall of these Anunnaki factions that eventually took over the affairs of our world. But the original race, going back to Sirius B, we're talking about 560 million years ago, at the onset of the first war in Lyra, they were actually known as the Anuhasi race. And a lot of this information is confirmed and verified through the CDT plates and, of course, the works of Ashayana Dean, for those that have studied her.
Yes, 100%. My thing is with a lot of the Syrians, I'm from Sirius B. We're more militarized. Sirius A is more diplomatic.
Yeah.
For us from Sirius B, we're not scared of a fight, just to be clear.
That's where
yeah, I know. So my thing is that we have these Syrian, and a lot of you guys that are really attracted to the water, dolphins, whales, you belong like water babies. Like, it's like I'm a Pisces, right? I just been surfing since I was 8. The Sirius B and the Sirius connection to me, some people have this thing when they go into the ocean, they're like one with it. And then you could have friends that rather be up in a mountain somewhere. You know what I mean? There's some of us that really have this connection to water that we cannot explain. I feel that that's more of our Syrian DNA. In deep meditation, I can tell you this. When I can tell you some secrets, Ishmael. I feel now. I don't know. We're live though. See, I don't know. I want to talk to you because we never really got a chance to talk to each other. But we'll do it for the whole planet. So when you guys are in meditation, especially in the water, with me, I know what I look like. My Syrian aquatic dude looks like. Right. What I can tell you is this: that there's 3 gills that are behind the ears, right here. 3, and they're long lines like this. And sometimes when you guys are practicing, you could be in your swimming pool in the backyard. You could be out in the ocean surfing. Try to, when you go underwater, I used to go under the surf line, and I'd hold my breath and I'd sit in the sand. Okay. Or you can grab onto the sand if you want under the surf line. But as you're holding your breath, imagine breathing through those gills back here. It will do something to your consciousness. Our DNA is still active inside of us. We're just not using it. There's some things that are like markers that I need nature to activate. That's why do you think we always say we're such a big fan of, hey, travel the world, go for a hike, get out in nature. There is something innately, if you learned in nature, or you can have a reference of something you can look at and be a part of, it helps your DNA remember faster, and it helps blow through the wipe that we've all undergone just to be able to come into this kindergarten game. I know it's very chaotic at times, but your oversoul is eternal. Your soul spark is eternal. So just for us to agree to come down here and participate in this game, we had to agree to some of the terms. Or like I said, if you were born with all of your memories, this entire game would not be a challenge. The challenge is balancing your emotions, right? And interacting down here and getting everyone kind of to raise their frequency or vibration. But that's a little secret that I do. Imagine breathing through your gills behind your ears and just breathe. And it'll do something to your subconscious in your mind. You're like, wait a minute. I feel different. There's something in even how we used to operate that's different here. And I'm sure you know, Ishmael, breath work is so important. Tone taught me this, that very specific breath work can clear your energy field, can completely blow off all the distortion out of your cadence. Your oxygen intake is like hitting nitrous. If you guys like to race cars, you start getting into this breath sequence, all of a sudden your energy field starts going boom, 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 and it starts expanding. And then you guys might even get the ringing in your ears when you really start to hum. You're literally starting to, your body's booting up. So I know it's difficult at times, in this life, but back in the day, ladies and gentlemen, we had to do a lot of physical activity just to survive on the surface of this world. Let's not forget how strong you truly are, right? Like, there are a bunch of superheroes born like in a world where you can just go to the grocery store and fetch whatever you want to eat or sit on the couch. Let's not forget that your frequency, your strength, and your ability to recognize that strength inside yourself sometimes has to be tested.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to be tested because you won't turn it on. So a lot of us who have been through near-death life experiences, I can promise you something. We were stronger when we got back.
Mm-hmm.
I had a change in, hey, I used to think the whole world was like this. After I had this near-death life experience, I'm like, I'm seeing things a little differently. Okay. So sometimes,
so, right.
Yeah. So there's a reason for these things that push against us, but always to remember that we are strong enough to overcome any of those things, brother.
But also when we die and we come back, every time we come back after having a near-death experience, we come back with more of our oversoul consciousness that has been, more increments become downloaded. So each time we come, we are more aware. It's almost like our consciousness shifts and we become more aware of who we are. It's like an initiation every time we have a near-death experience.
I couldn't agree more. What are some of the things right now that, as we're coming up into May, I know there's some huge financial things incoming for us. I know there's a lot of changes on the surface. What are some of the things that you see happening for 2026? And maybe we'll go back and forth with some information and some predictions for them. I feel great change inbound. And here's what I'm trying to express to everyone energetically. I know me and Ismael, we're out here in Sedona. I can't stop the energy flowing through me. There's no way. We're already in the current of change. There's no way to stop it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like whatever decision or flow that we are on right now, I feel like we're in a raft and we're heading downstream if we like it or not. So what are some things, you know what I mean? Like, I feel it's abundant, but I feel it's a great change, but I'm to a point now where I just let go of the oar. You know what I mean? I'm just like, let's do it. I'm in full trust. Like, let's go. So what are some of the things you feel that are coming up for everybody?
Well, on a collective, I feel like we're definitely going to be crossing a threshold. Perhaps we're going to have the first waivers of ascenders, which means that there's going to be a good chunk of us that have done the work, that have prepared themselves and gotten ready in order to activate their dormant DNA. And as a result of that, they're still going to be operating in this reality as they are reintegrating with other realities. It's almost like Russian roulette dolls, they all collapse into one. So I believe that sometime this year, due to what's happening on a collective with, the war in the Middle East, as chaos continues to rise, it seems like everything is about to go through some sort of multi-dimensional convergence. And this is where it's all heading, And so I believe that this is the year that we're going to have this multi-dimensional convergence where for the first time in a long time, and I would say about 26,000 years, we're going to be getting our abilities back. And for those that are ready, of course, but I believe that's going to happen in waves. I believe that the first wave will therefore activate the second wave. Right. And the second wave would ultimately activate the third wave. So again, when I mean by ascended means, I mean that we're going to be able to integrate other realities or higher dimensions into this physical body, allowing more of our oversoul consciousness to express itself through the physical body. Right now it's only a portion of that. And so the more consciousness, the more awareness we have, the more we reintegrate higher dimensions with the lower dimension. And that's what means conduits, of course. We're here pretty much as conduits to bridge in, heaven and earth, to bridge in higher dimensions with lower dimensions.
For my fellow Azarites out there and guardians that are monitoring their territories from here to Asia or South Africa, I like to say, from Sedona all the way there, and everyone out there across the planet, UK, Canada, the whole world, really. What are some tips you can give some guys, and some ladies out there on managing your energy? And as you are, like I said, we're about to go from, through this multidimensional change
Yep.
where it's happening to some of us right now. I'm telling you, my conscious right now and how I wake up in the morning. I woke up this morning. They were showing me the glyph of anti-gravitic craft. They were showing me how to draw it, the actual energy signature and the symbol for anti-gravitic craft. That's what I woke up from this morning. The past days on ship, I don't really talk about a lot of this, Ismael, on my channel. I try to keep it, in the physical, but they've really kicked up the training modules for you guys. Those of you who are aware, they are really kicking up your scholastic studies. They want you to realize exactly what these symbols mean. So, for example, if we do get contact, can you read the symbols on the side of that ship before it lands? Or do you need an interpreter to do that for you? Some of us are going to be the interpreters. People on this planet always look to their government, which is very strange to me. And they have this weird idea that these people, because they work for the government, because they were handed technology from other ET races since Solar Warden's inception, and we've had anti-gravitic crafts for about 80 years. We've had Solar Warden, we've had Radiant Guardian, we've had all these projects and whatnot. But what the one thing about these projects never said is that some of us who incarnated here were meant as from the Guardian Alliance to monitor and observe this physical plane of reality. Some of us, and Ishmael, myself included, we were never really meant to be on a podcast talking to you. He was supposed to be the guy that writes the books, the Galactic historian. I was a gritter. I work behind the scenes. This whole thing for us coming out and speaking about certain topics is because the planet right now, the consciousness right now is ready for it. You guys out there are at the right frequency and the right vibration where I'm speaking English to you and you're understanding exactly what I'm telling you when I'm saying a download, upper dimensional, lower dimensional, multidimensional, different ET species, different DNA codons, different going from 2-strain to 3-strain. All of these things now are common for you out there, ladies and gentlemen. Give me a thumbs up across the planet if you can understand the words I'm saying to you right now. Because I can promise you, when I first started this journey in 2009, 2010, that was not common. You know what I mean? You remember the world back in the day, Ishmael? You know what I mean? Some of the level of consciousness and how we are all coming together in this 100th monkey effect is tremendous. And everything is being accelerated. My main thing to let you guys know is this. You have one choice. Okay? As these frequencies come up, and this goes for everyone, including myself, as I watch this video in about an hour and a half when we're done, okay? We're not going to take that long, but I'm just trying to say my own reflection. I can't stop the frequency of creation or source flowing through my body, nor can I stop the solar winds and energy, hitting this planet and raising the entire planet's vibration underneath my feet. The only thing I can do is, as we move faster on this plane, is to do the things necessary for me to stabilize this energy. Whether that be more meditation, drinking more water, taking my vitamins, going to the gym, grounding, maybe going swimming, whatever that is. This speed is just going to pick up. It's not going to slow down. So there's a lot of people out there that are kind of have their head in the ground, or they just think they can hide, in a cabin in the woods. And they think that this is a wave that's going to pass by and things are going to slow back down again. No, ladies and gentlemen, the speed will never be as slow as it is right now. As I say this, every single plank second that ticks by, that frequency is going to kick up. If you don't believe me, look at time right now. In Sedona, it feels like they fast forwarded you can confirm this if you'd like, Ishmael. I feel like they sped up time 1/3. Like the days are just running. It's day, it's night. It feels like you're in Groundhog Day. You wake up, you have some energy, you could do a podcast, you can work a little bit, you work out, they knock you out. You're out for 3 hours. So we're being forced to take naps. I never took naps. I don't know if you're taking naps, Ishmael, but I've never taken naps before in my life. The
Yeah.
reason is the calibration of the light that's coming from our sun is upgrading your DNA. And no, it's not the 60s. No, it's not the 70s. No, it's not the 80s. The sun is no longer orange. It is white hot. And those solar codes are activating your dormant DNA. And there's nowhere to run from it. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys a heads up. Stabilize. Even as I'm like, fuck, I'm picking up a string. Stabilize your energy. And I know, Ishmael, what are some things you do to calm your energy? How about, I know you're like the galactic historian, bro. And I'm like, hey, slow it down, bro. Not all of us are on a spaceship on the backside of Jupiter right now. What are some things you do to kind of settle into these downloads and energies? You know what I mean? What are some of the techniques you use?
Well, grounding. Grounding is the first thing I like to do every single day, especially upon waking up. And also, of course, through, spiritual practices such as meditation. Breath work is important, as you mentioned. And the reason I would like to agree with the importance of breath work is because when we are breathing in energy, that energy is converting into chi, prana, universal life force. So you're giving your body an oxygen hit. Every time you guys do deep breathing, you're giving each part of your body, your molecules, your glands, your cells, you're giving them a hit of energy. And so that's why it's important to breathe. Not to mention, when we do breathing on a daily basis, we actually, and there's science behind this too, we actually raise our own frequency and we become better conduits of the higher light frequencies that are coming in. So like you said, so that we could stabilize them. Because that's what our role here is we're stabilizers, guys. We're stabilizers of these higher frequencies that are ultimately going to allow for an interdimensional shift when the 12 stargates open, the 12 Moranian time warps, as described by the Book of Enoch, J.J. Hortak, who's a great person, great friend of mine. And so that's where we're here. We're here to stabilize that so that the 12 gates could open up, allow for a reopening, all the veils cease to exist that once divided the 5 harmonic universes. And again, ascension doesn't necessarily need to just be about the 5th dimension. When the veils lift, like you said, and the dimensions merge, we're going to have access to the entire 12-dimensional, 15-dimensional time matrix. So depending on your frequency, that will determine how much that you're going to be able to reintegrate while still maintaining your human form. And that's where the superpowers come in.
Got it. So as the dimensional doors, let's fast forward. We see a bright light outside in, say, a year and a half. We go outside. What is this? We actually see the walls of reality melting around us. I'm just trying to give a visual to the words. Okay. You walk outside, you're seeing the sky change color. What is going on? You're seeing a blending of 2 different dimensional worlds blending in. You're starting to see the spirit world, let's just say, blend into the physical. Now, I know that with the moon and the hologram and how they've kept this place locked into 3D, and how they say they can't just release the power signal coming from the moon that controls the hard light hologram on this planet that locks it in 3D, because normally Gaia, they say, would be in a 5th dimensional construct anyways. So let's just say this artificial walls come down. What's the first thing you recommend? And I'm taking us there because I need to know too. And this is for me and you and the whole planet that gets to have this conversation with us. For those that are advanced, how do you not only breathe in and realize, okay, it's happening. It's going on right now. Okay. First is like realization. This shit's really happening. Okay. Number 2, how do we deal with your neighbor that's out there in the street? Good old Karen that's just been, drinking a bottle of wine every night, just trying to fake it till you make it. What I'm trying to get to is, how do you feel? What do you feel the emotion is? And this is for all you guys out there. Put in your own comments, because listen, we're going to walk through this door together, regardless in this incarnation. Listen to my voice. We're going to walk through a moment similar to this. Okay. When we're walking through worlds, as we go through this great transition, what are some words of wisdom? What is your 1-2 word or sentence to not only calm yourself, but calm those around you? This is the stuff that people on this planet that channel information should be talking about right now. Not a hearsay, not a million years into the future or in the past. Let's say something happens in 600 days, 700 days, 800 days. we need to open up the door of potential and possibility of how to process that reality before it happens. I'm not into a shock and awe campaign. And Ishmael, I know you're not. You've been explaining to everyone, hey guys, this is some of the real stuff that's happening to our DNA. These are some of the things to explain that. So I'm just saying for all you guys out there, what are some things you would do? Put it in the comments. And Ishmael, how would you explain that to someone who maybe isn't awake, has zero to do with our world, right? And they're like, oh my God, Ishmael, what is happening? What is this? Like, how would you explain that?
It's from what I felt based on connecting with my ascended self, is that at first it's going to seem, especially for a lot of people that are not at our level, it's going to seem as if they took the biggest acid hit ever, or the biggest mushroom.
Okay. There you go.
Their entire mind, all their senses, and yes, we have more than 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, our senses, our levels are beyond what we were told. Everything's going to open up at once. When everything opens up at once, and this is why you have to be grounded, because if you are ungrounded, you could A, go crazy, so it could also backfire, or B, have an internal combustion because you're at the level of your cellular structure, you weren't able to absorb all of that frequency because you weren't grounded, right? You weren't stable. So the best thing to do is when we have this hit of mind expansion, where all our memories come back, everything we were prior to incarnating into this human form, all of a sudden, all our knowledge returns. Guys, it's going to be very similar to being on a deep ayahuasca journey, but with, on steroids. That's the best way to describe it. Imagine all of a sudden having direct access. When you think of the ethers, like let's just call it an interdimensional library or archives of information that pertains to everything that has ever happened in the entire history of the multiverse. Okay. Think about that. If all of a sudden you have access to that, to the cloud of the multiverse, and you have access to all this information, if you are not grounded, my friend, it's going to be very hard for you to absorb it and, of course, anchor it. Because the whole purpose of this multidimensional convergence that is about to take place is to see who has the capacity to anchor and integrate the experience that we are undergoing when that happens. Or, you know what I mean, right? We have to learn how to integrate it. So the best thing to do is to be calm and center. And this is the reason why I love to teach 3 different level ascension courses. And in the first course, I teach people how to become mindful, because most people still don't know how to master the presence. They're still worrying about the future. They're still thinking, dwelling about the past, without realizing that it is within this present moment that we are actually co-creating with the quantum field. And so one of the things that I do is that I teach my students how to become present, how to be embody in the moment. So when you master that, it's going to be very easy for you guys to get that hit of whatever it is that's going to open up all your mind, all your senses, right? Where you're going to be able to easily integrate all of that information. You guys have to understand, we are a living organic quantum computer. So it's also another example is like right now, our bodies are operating like typewriters, like 50s typewriters. It is going to be the equivalent of going from a typewriter into a supercomputer within a split second. You have to be ready. You have to be ready.
I couldn't agree more. I was visualizing outside. I think I would walk outside if I saw people having a hard time. I would say, take my hand, and I would probably be a stabilizing mechanism. And I would probably have like a chain link of all the neighbors and all my friends holding hands. And I would try to stabilize the frequency, almost like an energy conduit, like a transceiver. I'm like, I got it. Breathe. Let me take the load of the energy coming through as the doors are opening. And so I'm trying to give you guys a visual because, this happens. You could be in a village in the UK. You guys could be in Canada. You guys can be on Easter Island. You guys could be out there in South Africa or in Australia. So I would say, as the temple guards or the real guardians, those Azurite, those old souls, I would say, get your friends and family around you. I would join hands and I would have you stabilize the energy or the flux that would come and to stabilize. And if people can't take the visual, I would ask them to close their eyes and breathe and kind of breathe through it. So again, I take myself there visually because, listen, I don't think this is the first time we've been through this, Ishmael. And I think I remember one of the times before, it was a little like a DMT on steroids and it was a bit much. I think with this one, with the amount of cognitive ability and obviously everyone's presence being here, I feel that we're going to have a much more balanced and safe time. But also, to give you guys a heads up, might not be the best idea to do that in a very large populated city downtown. I think a lot of the starseeds and angelics are already making their way out to more calm environments, right? I would not try to do this sort of a thing out in a very dense environment. I think there will be problems with people losing their minds. But I would just say to slowly kind of make your way towards more safe and balanced environments. And with that, my brother, I mean, I don't want to give away too much. You guys got to see us live at Rise of the Guardians, May 8th through the 10th. Come on now. TeamLightStore.com. And my brother Ismael, where can they find you and how can they sign up for your courses and whatnot?
Yeah, they could find me through my website, ourcosmicorigin.com. And I'm also going live 3 times a week, giving Galactic Alliance reports on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays at 6 o'clock Pacific time. So that's where they could find me on ourcosmicorigin.com. Now, for those that are wanting to watch my lives, I just did an extraordinary live last night titled The Reactivation of the Sophia Codes and the Restoration of the Grail.
You did good. Yep.
And a lot of that has to do with the recuperation of the 10th gate, known as Abaddon in Iran. And so, people think that when they think of this war that's happening, they're only looking at it from a surface level, but little do they know that the real war is taking place in the underground. And so the whole point is, if you guys want to reach me, I do have a website, ourcosmicorigin.com, where you could access all my platforms, my classes, my courses. My groundbreaking class is our Cosmic Origin class, and that class breaks down the entire cosmic infrastructure. I mean, that's about 900 years of cosmic history, breaking down the different levels of reality, the different interdimensional councils, the different types of interdimensional advanced civilizations, from a type 1 all the way to a cosmic type 5. So it goes pretty deep. And my YouTube channel is The Real Ismael Perez. And the reason I call me The Real Ismael Perez is because I've had other copycats that have been stealing my content and opening up their channels, making people think it's me. So yeah, my real channel is The Real Ismael Perez.
The Real Ismael Perez. And just so you guys know, I put his links in all the descriptions from Rumble, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So it's all there. With that being said, my brother, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, TeamLight interviews. And I am just looking forward to everything that's going to be coming forth out of the collective from us, but also this great meetup that we're going to have May 8th through the 10th out here in Sedona. Was there anything specifically you're going to be talking about in your presentation?
Absolutely. I'm going to break down the original cosmic design of the human race. So that way you guys could pretty much have an idea of all the work and effort that was put into this grand design that we are the culmination of. I'm going to talk about some of the earlier failed experiments. I'm going to talk about what happened in prior creations. So, it's going to be a deep cosmic, mind expansion for those that go. My talk, I believe, is Saturday at 4:25 p.m. I will be on the stage, guys, breaking down the original cosmic human design. And then at the end of that, I'm going to actually teach people one of the fastest ways in activating our telepathy and our telekinesis before we even ascend. Because these are things that we actually could start doing right now if we wanted to. It's available. We just have to learn how to do it.
Awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I love you guys. All right, till next time. Peace.
Is this a dream or not? All the love I got running through my head, running through my head. Is this a dream or not? All the love I got, all the love I got running through my head. Is she a dream or not? No more talk. Our love is enough. Show me love, show me love. On the dance floor, dance. breath. Creator dance with me. I keep asking myself, wondering how. I keep closing my eyes, but I can't block the night out. The shadows following me. Something I can only see. Now time created a shine. Can you hear me in the back? A little light attack, golden lights of me. Let me shine like a thunderbolt, tearing across the sky. Is this a dream or not? All the love I got running through my head, running through my veins. All the love I got. Is this a dream or not? Running through my head, running through my veins. Brighter than my shine. Is this a dream or not? Running through my veins, running through my veins. All the light I got. Our love is enough. Is this some dreaming night?